The Icons of Real Estate Podcast. Are you ready to learn the proven money-making secrets from top-producing Icon agents? Ready to skyrocket your business? This podcast is for you. Tune in every week with your host, Tomasz Fonseca, and find out how to implement proven strategies to 10 times your business, from $3 million to $30 million in just 12 months. Brought to you by the Masters in Real Estate Marketing, Arter SEO.
Welcome to the Icons of Real Estate podcast. I'm your host, Patty Teal. On this podcast, we celebrate the success of top producing realtors and brokers. And the two that I'm going to be talking to today are certainly icons in real estate. I'm so excited and, to be honest, a bit nervous to interview Eloy Carmenate and Mick Duchon with the Corcoran Group in Miami. Together, they have more than 2 billion, yes, I did say billion, in sales volume over their careers. And who knows, maybe it's even more by now. We'll have to ask them that. They connect Miami's most prestigious, exclusive, and architecturally significant residences with the world's most discerning buyers. Welcome to you both.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you for having us.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. It's so nice to get a chance to talk to you and to interview you. So we usually start the show where you each share your journey into real estate. I think that would be so very interesting. How did you get started? How long have you been doing it? And how did you get to this point where you are so very successful? Who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Eloy. His is way more interesting.
Okay.
Not really. No, I've been doing it for about 33 years. I started renting apartments on a bicycle, and then it just transitioned into selling real estate, and I worked my way into luxury real estate. The city grew around me. So I was very fortunate. Yeah,
Because you were there.
Yes.
Well, Eloy, tell us where you are right now, because it really looks like a beautiful background. And I don't think that's just a graphic that you're showing.
I'm in Sicily right now on a beach in a town called Taormina. It's very charming. It's my first time.
Wow.
You caught me on vacation, so
Aww.
Anyway.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your vacation to talk to me today. Thank you for sharing your story too. And Mick, how about you? How did you get going into this field?
Well, Eloy is an integral part of my story. But I was introduced to real estate growing up through my parents and through my parents' friends and my older brother. And then when I was in college, I was introduced to Eloy through a mutual connection, which is a cousin of mine. And I started interning with Eloy when I was a senior in college. And then I kind of grew under Eloy's umbrella, and eventually Eloy and I became partners, and we've been working together now for 14 years. So wow. My entire career, Eloy's been involved with 99% of my real estate career. And then we've grown to together. So.
You must almost feel like family, having been together for so long.
We are, yeah. I talk to Eloy more than most people in my life. So
I can imagine.
Yeah.
And yeah, Eloy, how did you know that Mick was so special that you'd want to work with him so closely?
Actually, I didn't. It was sort of happened. No, I did it all on his own. I really didn't want an intern. But he worked really hard, and out of all of a sudden, he started producing and really just changed things. And I had always been searching for a partner because I've been at it for such a long time. So, he was the perfect solution to my problem. And we've been working together ever since.
That's very cool. And how do you complement each other? What are your different skills? I guess, Eloy, the camera's on you right now, so we'll start with you. What do you think that he brings to the table that maybe you're not as comfortable with, and vice versa?
Perseverance, a sense of calm. He handles situations in a very, he's really does handle it very well. So he's very even keeled and very knowledgeable. So usually he does a completely different sale than I do. We're completely different, but we complement each other because we're polar opposites.
Wow. And how is that approach so different, if you don't mind my asking?
Well, he's calm and he's very direct and very. He just doesn't take no for an answer. I mean, he really stays on people. He follows up. He's very likable.
Mm-hmm.
With me, I'm a little bit on the wild side. I'm more of a
So I can attest to that. Eloy is very charismatic, and his salesmanship is on par with some of the best that are in the industry. So if and Eloy really wrote the book on sales. So where we're very different in our approach, but I've learned everything I've known in sales through Eloy. So the perseverance that I have, it definitely was learned from Eloy. We just have a different approach to it. And Eloy, I learned early on in my career, after starting with Eloy, I tried to be like Eloy, but then Eloy brought to my attention, he's like, Mick, everybody, you have to create your own personality in real estate and in sales. So it's when I tried to act like Eloy, not being Eloy, I started to realize, well, it's not natural for me to be as charismatic and use the same type of salesmanship that Eloy has. So I started to just be myself in real estate, and we ended up having, even though we're working towards the same goal, there was different approaches to getting there.
That's such a wise observation. And I think it's true about everything in life. I used to be a singer for a while. I was signed with Disney doing kid stuff, but I always wanted to be like a black blues singer, and that just wasn't me. So you have to do what complements your natural abilities and skills, for sure.
Powerhouse and on his own right. And he is very charismatic. I mean, he's so popular that mayor of the town. I'm on the side. So I kind of, I don't rub a lot of people the right way sometimes, but Mick rubs everybody right all the time. So
wow. Yeah.
That and personalities.
That's a great talent. I have a friend back in Santa Barbara where I spent most of my adult life, and I always call her the mayor of the town too. You can't go out with her without so many people. Hey, so I understand that type of charisma. So I really have spent very little time in Miami, to tell you the truth, but I've heard so much about it from so many people. And I had friends that have a main home in Miami Beach, but used to come to Santa Barbara off season, or let's see, when it got to be too hot in Miami. So I wondered if you could just talk a little bit about how special Miami is and how unique, and what makes it so unique, and perhaps how it's changed. And I don't know who to start with. Eloy, would you like to take that on, and then Mick can comment?
I mean, Mick and I are going to have very different feelings towards the city, because I'm Latino and I've been in the city since I was 5 years old. I was born in LA, shockingly.
I read that.
I've been my home for so long that it's really part of me. I grew, as like I said, I grew up here, and I just love the infusion of all the culture all over the world. I think it's obviously very beautiful. I think it's very diverse. It's cultural. You have everything from art, music, food. I mean, you have everything you need. I absolutely think it's perfect. And like I said, with the multicultural influence, it's unlike any other place in the world. A lot of people say that Miami is like being in a foreign country that takes dollars, or that's attached to the United States.
Oh, that's a great saying. Yeah.
Mick is an implant. I can tell you what he likes about it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I learned a lot about Miami through Eloy, and the cultural components are super important. My favorite part of Miami is the lifestyle component and the quality of life. Just being in a concentrated space that's surrounded by water. So that's nice all year round. I get to play. My hobbies are very active. So I play a lot of tennis. I do a lot.
He plays golf, basketball, tennis. He plays everything.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Water at all. So he really does take advantage of the city in a very different way than I do.
Yeah,
Correct.
that's
Totally.
wonderful.
It's a beautiful place to live, and we really don't have to travel far to, within our lifestyles. So it's really nice here.
You can be in a completely different neighborhood within 10 minutes and have a whole different experience and not really go very far. You're never really stuck in traffic. You really don't have to go long distances. It's a great.
Wow, I didn't know that you weren't very often stuck in traffic. That's interesting. And I have to.
Good side. We live on the water on the islands. So we only go to the key places, which are really mostly the urban center of Miami and then Miami Beach, which is an island off the urban center of Miami.
Right, right. Well, it seems so many people migrate to Miami from other areas, and I wondered what those main areas are because it is such a special area, and also how it affects your marketing, your outreach for those buyers to find you. Eloy?
Okay,
Mick.
Eloy.
No, Mick, go ahead. That's fine.
So it's the cities that people are migrating from have over the past decade have really stayed pretty consistent, which I know was different from Eloy's career earlier on. But most recently, it's been domestic cities like New York, New Jersey, Chicago, and California. And then we think people are migrating from those cities because of a multitude of different reasons, taxes being one of them. Florida there's no state income tax, in addition to just the openness and the quality of life. So it's like we had mentioned before, a beautiful place to live, and they have the culture and the cosmopolitan component of Miami, but then there's also the whole outdoor lifestyle component. So.
Miami's sense that the second you cross the county line, you're in the rest of the United States. When you're in Miami, it's a whole different experience. So people do feel like they can vacate their lives and take their vacation there. So and then almost every day, fortunately for us, we cross bridges, we see water, we see islands, and it's just almost like it's a pleasure to work because it's not really work sometimes. It's fun.
Yeah, and you mentioned that it's like a vacation, and I wondered the people that have that kind of money that they can buy a second or a third or a fourth home there. Is that who a lot of your customers are, who just come there when they want to get away from their home area?
It's seasonal in center. I mean, they tend to spend a lot of time when they do buy a home in Miami. We do cater to the top, I think 5% of the United States and the top real estate. And we're very fortunate to have represented some amazing properties. Most people don't get the privilege of ever seeing, and sometimes never will, because they're quietly marketed. So it's a very unique place to live. And what's interesting is they leave these urban centers, but they're coming into one, but it also has palm trees and beaches. And it's fun. There's a lot happening 7 days a week. You can really pick, and you could be busy 7 days a week and hit 2 or 3 things per day after work.
Right, right. Yeah. And so where do you guys find your leads? I'm sure that you're so well connected by now that people reach out to you and there's a lot of relationships. Are there other ways that people find you as well?
Well, for me personally, I've always been referral based, and so is Mick now. Our business is really largely referral based. We do get every now and then. I've actually sold things on Zillow.
Oh.
So, and Redfin and all these things. It's just been very different. Or sometimes they'll just see an email blast. But Mick and I pride ourselves on being very discreet with our approach to marketing, because we cater to a discrete crowd. So, the property's in the forefront. We don't need to be the star.
That's nice. Yeah. Anything to add to that, Mick?
I feel the same way. I mean, we both do a lot of networking, and the networking isn't the typical networking. We're not going to that many networking events just to meet other people within the industry, although that is a very important component of our business, because we pride ourselves on being having a very great reputation within the brokerage community. And that's where a lot of our business happens, is with other brokers. Although we also network within the places that we feel we're going to be able to meet people that are aligned with our business. So
and that's fun too.
Yeah, well,
yeah,
for instance,
exactly.
Mick does it through, golf, tennis, there's different ways, and I do it completely different. I travel around and I'm here. I hit up certain places and I pick up, clients and people along the way. But typically I'll bump into somebody that I know and it's referral based. They'll say, oh, this is my friend Eloy, he's in real estate. And they'll say, oh, I'm looking for a place in Miami. And then it starts from there.
Yeah. So some realtors are noticing that the market is slowing down a little bit right now. Interest rates are climbing, but it seems that maybe it hasn't affected you as much. I have to find out from you, because I would assume a lot of your buyers pay cash. But tell me, is it changing? Are people worried about the market right now?
I'm going to let Mick answer that because he's our little market expert.
Okay.
The market has slowed down over the past month or two. And I think we can attribute it to what you mentioned there. I also attribute the slowdown to just the seasonality of Miami Beach. And I think that once those items that you mentioned kind of normalize, and also Miami Beach cools off a little bit, literally speaking, we'll start to see the activity pick up again. So there still are people looking in the market to purchase, that are either setting themselves up from a tax perspective, whether they've exited companies or they just are making a move in their lives. But there's definitely a slowdown from what it was during the heat of the pandemic. But at that moment, that was the hottest market that we've seen ever.
Wow.
Like it was unprecedented what's happened over the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, it's what I've always told everyone is every market has its ups and downs, but when the wave goes down, it goes down, but it goes up, down to the peak of the last market. And then when it peaks again, it's always an extraordinary experience because we never know what's going to happen. And what we did see this year was an extraordinary appreciation in the market and demand, which we've had before. It's been busy, but again, the market's been cyclical and it's different every single time. So it's hard to say, but to agree with what Mick said, I would say that, this year was insane, but Mick, you remember 2015, 2016, it was crazy.
Yeah. Yep. Super active.
Now, of course, we're selling higher volumes, but yes. Go ahead.
Right.
No, I agree. It slowed down a little bit after that point, and then it just picked back up again, and then it slowed down and picked back up. Miami is a cyclical market. This shift will likely be a little bit different because we have more people that moved into the market from that purchased primary homes, where historically it was more secondary and third homes. But we'll see what happens. We're still working with several people that are looking to purchase, so it didn't come to a screeching halt.
Right.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think we're doing better year to date than we did last year, right?
Yeah, I think so too. Either on par or better.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I noticed a big influx of people, as I mentioned. I also moved to Florida, and people keep saying, everybody's moving here. It's getting so crowded. Is that because of the taxes, politics? Why do you guys think Florida is becoming so very popular?
Well, it's definitely taxes, politics. And as Mick mentioned, it's also the lifestyle. I mean, it's a great place to get it all, in my opinion, anyway. Can't imagine living in a cold, dark city. It's impossible to fathom that.
Right. As you sit at the pool with the beautiful view behind you, I can imagine that would be a difficult thing for you to do.
Sometimes it's like jogging over a bridge and looking over on one side, seeing the beach and the ocean, all the serenity, and then you turn to the right and you have the entire city skyline on the right. It's a really remarkable place to live.
Right. So obviously, most realtors and brokers haven't had the kind of success that the two of you had. And especially I've talked to people, not so much on icons of real estate, but just talked to realtors who have had a hard time getting listings because they're competing against so many people. And of course, that's a big way that you make your money. Do you have any advice to share with somebody who's not as successful or is just starting out? And whichever one of you wants to jump in first, Mick.
That way.
Sure. So Eloy and I really focus within a certain segment of the market. So when we're approaching owners for listings, we don't just approach them and say, oh, well, this is what your house will sell for. We try and create a different angle to generate interest, and that angle is different every time. We cater it to each seller. So whereas we do cast a wide net within the brokerage community to generate for our marketing, when we approach owners for listings, it's a really targeted approach, and we try to truly understand the ins and outs of the property and potentially the seller too, from a personal perspective, before we just go up for a listing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And to complement that, I think we actually create value within the properties that we represent. Typically, we try to represent only the properties that we truly believe in. And, you can create value just by understanding the real estate, not just the market, which Mick is kind of an expert, and really having the market knowledge because he's an encyclopedia. But thing is more architecture, design, details, things that cost a lot of money that most people don't understand. Anywhere from, what floating baseboard to a mitered edge on a wall, it's little details that count, and that's where you can show the value and the value of the property.
Absolutely, that makes sense. And you two really do complement each other. I'm so happy that you found each other. That's really wonderful. Yeah. So you've accomplished so much, but I imagine you wouldn't still be working unless you wanted to accomplish more. So what are your goals going into the next year?
I don't know about Mick, but you're only as good as your last sale, and your biggest competition is yourself. So basically, the second we sell something, we feel like we've done nothing. We have to go back out just as hard and just as strong as we did. I've been working that way from day one, and I can attest that Mick feels the same.
I've certainly learned that quality. Right. I've learned that quality from Eloy, and like he said, you're only as good as your last sale. As soon as we close a deal, we feel broke. So it's true. We both, we close a lot of deals, and as soon as we close it, it's like we have to start from scratch. So we're only really, we need to keep our pipeline full.
Well, that's really interesting because I was going to ask you if that was learned or if that was just kind of an inborn thing, that type of ambition, So, but you attest that skill to spending time with Eloy.
It's a little bit of both. So it's certainly a personality trait, but it's also, I guess, exaggerated through the skills that I've learned from Eloy.
Yeah, but Mick's a personality. That guy doesn't sleep. So listen. Don't listen to
Well, you're very, very modest. So if people are listening and watching this podcast, I want to make sure and let them know how they can reach out to you.
Okay. Mick, well, we have our website.
Correct. Our website is carmenateduchon.com. And our emails are our first names and then an abbreviation of that. C like Carmenate, D like Duchon, and Resi like residential.com. And sure, if you look us up on Instagram, it's Carmenate Duchon, and Facebook and LinkedIn, feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to chat or respond and give any advice that we can.
And if you do get the time to take a look at our Instagram, you'll see some very beautiful things. It's very fun. They call real estate.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well, it looks like you guys are living the life. Wish I'd taken that turn a long time ago. That's wonderful, but I'm not sure I have your basic, like you said, just that feeling and that ambition to do so wonderfully in this field. I'm honored, as I said, to have gotten the chance to speak to you both. Thank you so much for being on Icons of Real Estate.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Nice to meet you. Thanks,
Thank
Patty.
you. Great to meet you both.